What is going on, fam? Today I want to be showing you guys how to make a lug nut key. So this is everything you're going to need to make your lug nut key. And of course you're going to need your lug nut. You're going to need your hex cap screw, which is a metric of M12-1.50, which that's the size of the lug nut. So depending on what kind of lug nut you get, that's the size of the screw you're going to get. You're going to get the hitch pin, and the hitch pin is a 1/4 by 1-1/4. Then you're going to need this piece, which is a well nut, is 1/4-20. And you can find all this, of course, except for the lug nut, you can find all this at Lowe's. I got all this at Lowe's. So the first thing you want to get is going to be your well nut and your hitch pin. And you're going to want to first thread your hitch pin to see if it fits inside this well nut. So to be able to thread this hitch pin, you're going to need a tap and die set, which you're going to want to look for the one that's going to fit perfect on the hitch. Which is this one. As you can tell, that one fits just right for the hitch. So you're going to want to put this on here if you've used a tap and die set. And then I'm going to go put this on the clamp, and we're going to go make some threads on this. So before I put it on the vise, I'm going to remove the keychain spiral. And then I'll put the hitch pin on the vise. So as you can tell, I already got it threaded, and it still doesn't fit in here. Even if I try turning it, it's not threading in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this tap and die set, and I'm gonna thread it, make a new thread in through here, because it still doesn't fit through here. So maybe making a new thread in through here, it's gonna allow it to make it fit. So now we're just gonna thread this. So after putting new threads inside the well nut, it still doesn't fit inside, like it still doesn't want to thread in. So what the tap and die set does, it kind of makes them a little bit deep, the threads. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trim off some of the outside with a Dremel, with this Dremel tip. It fits in, and just trim off around the edges. So it'll still have the thread, but you're just gonna be trimming it to make the thread a little bit bigger, so this can fit inside. You can also use a drill bit if you want. If you don't have a Dremel with this tip, you can also use a drill bit to make the hole a little bit bigger. So the hitch pin doesn't want to thread inside the well nut, but it does sit perfectly inside it. So I'm gonna have to go with plan B. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit it with a hammer and make it go all the way into where I want it. And it shouldn't be a problem once you put it in to get it back out because of the threads. The threads should keep it from actually coming out. So now we're just gonna hit it with the hammer, and hopefully it works. So as you can tell, it's going in. So now I'm just gonna make it go all the way in through. Once you've gotten the hitch pin inside of the well nut, what we're gonna do is trim this down, trim the hitch pin down. You can trim it flush or just leave a little bit extra. So just trim it down. Once you've got the hitch pin trimmed down, we're gonna use some JB Weld clear epoxy, and we're gonna apply the epoxy around the well nut and inside the lug nut. Now we got the epoxy on there, we're gonna wanna get a C-clamp. Then you're gonna get a nut that's gonna fit perfectly flush against the hitch pin. As you can tell, it's perfectly flush. And you're gonna wanna get the clamp, the C-clamp, and you're gonna wanna put pressure on it. As you can tell, the pressure's all there, and you're gonna want to set it somewhere upside down so that the epoxy sets towards the bottom of the well nut and the lug nut. Now that the well nut and the hitch pin are glued onto the lug nut, we're gonna take the bolt and we're gonna see how far it screws in. So that's as far as it screws in. So right now we're gonna cut right here at the end of the lug nut. We're just gonna mark it up by just cutting it a little bit, because if we were to cut it all right now, we wouldn't be able to take it off what's left inside. So that way we're just gonna mark it up, just cut it a little bit, that way we can take the bolt back off. So let's go cut it. So now that you know where you're gonna cut it off, I forgot to mention that you're gonna need these. I forgot what they're called, but you can find them at the hardware store. They have like an Allen key wrench, one side, and then the other side goes in. But right here where it's marked, that's where you're gonna cut it off. So you're gonna use this whole piece to go inside the lug nut. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna drill through the bolt, and we're gonna place these inside. So we need to make 2 holes with using a small drill bit. You can use any size small drill bit, and then work your way up to a 532. This is a 532, and that's going to be perfect for this thing to make it fit inside. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to make the holes to get these inside it. So I'm getting ready to drill it, and like I said, here's where I marked it. So I'm going to count 3 lines up, and that's where I'm going to start drilling. So it's 1, 2, 3. So this is where I'm going to start drilling, in this line right here. So after I got the hole drilled out, as you can tell, I'm going to use a 532 tap and die set to make it screw on inside. And that's good. The only problem is that I'm seeing is that it extends a little too far, so I'm gonna have to cut a little bit off of the end. So if yours extends, because they didn't have any shorter ones, but if you could find any shorter ones of these things, then you should buy the shorter one. But I couldn't find any, so I'll just cut it off and you'll be good. So I was gonna make a second hole, but when I went to go check on the key, I don't think there's gonna be room enough for a second hole. I don't really need a second hole, so I'm just gonna leave it with this one hole, and this one hole is perfect for me. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna slit it, the top, just a small, like a line in here, enough for the key to fit inside, to slide in. And the way you want to make the cut is the opposite way that your holes are. So your holes are this way, you're gonna want to cut this way, if that makes any sense. So we're gonna go ahead and cut this way, the opposite of where the holes are. So now that I got the middle cut out, you're gonna want to test fit your key. I'm gonna end up using a different key, because the other key that I showed you guys, I don't really use it that much, and I want to use a key. I want to put a key in here that I use a lot. So what I'm gonna do to try and test fit it is I'm gonna try to cut the plastic off. So I'm just gonna end up cutting all the way down through here, all the way down on both sides. Hopefully that removes the plastic. So as you can tell, I got the plastic off the key. So now I'm gonna get the screw, and you know where we cut it towards the end, I'm gonna see how far deep the key is gonna get in, so I can cut the key, because we're not gonna be keeping the whole key. So we gotta cut the key, so we gotta see how far in the key can go in. So to me it looks like up to there the key can go in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a marker, mark it where the end of the cut ends, right here on the screw, right there. Mark it on the key, because that's where you're gonna cut it on the key. So as you can tell, I marked it right there. So I'm gonna cut the key right there. So I got the key all trimmed off, and now it doesn't fit inside the screw. So we gotta make the slot in here a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna use a different rotary tool, and make the slot a little bit bigger so the key can fit. You can try sanding the key down, but I prefer just making the slot that we made on the screw a little bit bigger. So you can do either way. Also, if your key is a little bit bigger around the edges, as you can tell, like it's like perfect with the screw. If yours is a little bigger, you're gonna have to trim off the sides, but mine seems perfect. But I'm just letting you guys know, if your guys is wider than what your screw is, you're gonna need to trim off the edges. So I got the slot inside of the screw grinded down a little bit, as well as the key. I ended up grinding the key a little bit because it was a lot easier to grind the key than inside the screw. So if you guys want to grind the key, you can grind the key, just don't grind the notches that are in the key. But I can finally put the key inside the screw. As you can tell, there's still a little space inside, but that's fine because when you turn it, where the screw is gonna go in, you can still make a hole in there. So what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna get the drill with the drill bit, and I'm gonna make a hole through the key. So I got the keyhole all drilled out already, and I went ahead and put the screw inside the middle already, so I can just put it all in one piece together. And so all that's left to do right now is to cut it on this cut right here that we had done on the screw, so we know how far in it was gonna go inside the lug nut. So that's what we're gonna do right now. We're just gonna cut it off from right there. So now that I got the screw cut out to length, and I also put the screw that goes in between the key and the screw, and I put the key in there, it's time to put it inside the lug nut. So it starts getting a little hard there, and it's still a little bit out, so I'm gonna get some pliers. And that's perfect, perfectly flush. And that's pretty much it. That's how you make a lug nut key. So the only thing left to do is test it out. And just like that, the lug nut key works. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace out and embrace yourselves.